Well, this morning, Rod and I are going to have a conversation about Capricorn Gems, the reason why we established Capricorn Gems as a business, and why I think we do well with what we do. And we've got on the table here a few things. On the table, we have some rough material, and of course, Rod's over there, and we also have a map of the middle part of Central Queensland that we're just going to refer to as well. So, Rod, Capricorn Gems, you and I have been together a few years now, and we created this business specifically as Capricorn Gems. Can you sort of give your ideas about why we went down that path and what we do while we do?
Well, Ian, we're fortunate, and not only us, but Queenslanders, we're fortunate that the principal gem locations of Queensland are adjacent to the Tropic of Capricorn. Runs right through Yeppoon, where you and I live, the major centre of Rockhampton, continues west, passes right through the centre of the Sapphire Fields, right between Sapphire and Ruby Vale. That's right through there. And then on out to the Opal Country around Winton in West Queensland. Now, only about 100 kilometres north of the Tropic of Capricorn is Marlborough. Marlborough, the home of the finest chrysoprase in the world.
Fabulous, Rod. So, Rod, you've briefly explained here the gemstones and the area that we live in, and we did create Capricorn Gems because we saw the potential and I guess the need to promote and market and tell the story about these gemstones, because they're basically in our backyard, isn't it? That's right, isn't it?
Oh, very much so. You know, from home we can actually get to the Sapphire Fields and back in a day, and come back with a lovely little parcel of stone from one of the miner contacts we have.
Yeah.
Okay, the Opal Fields, it's 900 kilometres away, so it's a 3 or 4 day trip to do that. Marlborough, 100 kilometres away. It's an easy trip up there to try and access chrysoprase, so it's a reason we're here.
So we have a pretty good knowledge about these gemstones too, Rod. I mean, you've been involved in this business for, goodness me, 35 plus years. And in fact, all facets of this industry, the sapphires, the chrysoprase, the boulder opal, you've had your fingers in this pie for many years. I heard a story the other day I didn't really know, that you actually dug a mine shaft when you were 16 years old out of the boulder opal fields.
That's right, Ian. My history goes way back to while I was still at high school. As a 16-year-old, our Gympie Gem Club did a 3-week trip out to the gem fields, to the opal fields. I put a shaft down at Fermoy, all the way down to the opal band. So, and then we came back to the sapphire fields. And this predates any of the machine mining. So we went down to a hand mining claim in the scrub lead. We all dug a bucket of wash. The chrysoprase came a little bit later. So I've been mixed up in this since 1966 approximately.
Rod, you've been involved in this business for a long time. In fact, in all of these gemstones in Central Queensland, chrysoprase, sapphires, and we have a lovely parcel of sapphires and a few zircons over there, and our boulder opal from Western Queensland. You've been involved in this, I guess, business, Rod, or even in this situation here for many years, and over that time, you've got to know a lot of people. That's right, isn't it?
Oh, way back, yeah, absolutely, because I was studying engineering, working for the Queensland Main Roads Department, but gems were my love, were my hobby. So every opportunity, I'd be out here to the gem fields, out to the opal, out to the sapphires, and then eventually made a decision to turn gems from a hobby to a business. So in 1971, I actually became actively involved in mining commercially sapphire.
Right.
So in those years, I think 1971, but that's only 49 years ago. over that period, you tend to develop relationships. And some of those relationships from way back then, the 1970s, the early 1980s, those friends and associates are still here. Some of them not fully in the industry, but they're involved, they have material, they're still involved. So some of my relationships go back almost 50 years.
Rod, those relationships that you have developed over the years have really helped us come to an understanding about the whole business concerning traceability and provenance of our gemstones in Central Queensland, and you've really been able to help us along in that pathway because of the knowledge that you do have of each specific gemstone's origins, I suppose. So can you talk to us a little bit about that and how you find that now starting to gain much more importance in what we do?
Absolutely. Now, our relationship, Capricorn Gems, is 5 or 6 years old, approximately, something like 5 or 6 years old. In my own history, I had a big gap from when I was actively involved in mining, processing, cutting for the trade here, and I got involved in other business activities for a period. When we met and when we started to develop our relationship in the business, the friendships and the relationships that I had previously formed were still there. So it wasn't as though you're new coming into an industry. It was, Rod, we haven't seen you for a while.
Right.
That while might have been 30 years, but the friendships you had then and the relationships, if they're good and they're strong, they will continue. So it was a case of just simply walking back in and renewing the contacts I had from back then.
So Rod, those contacts and relationships, and the simple fact of you being in this business for many years, you're able to go back to a lot of those people that you know and I guess talk to them about the supply of rough material, knowing exactly where it comes from. So from the chrysoprase point of view, you've been involved with that, and so now we can source that material. And so can you tell us a little bit about each of the particular gems and how you actually do that?
Well, with the chrysoprase from Marlborough, my first exposure to this would have been at that same time, probably in the 1970s. Bert Case, who was mining up there at the time, Bert subsequently sold to KJAR. KJAR subsequently sold to Cobra Resources, based in Perth. A university friend of mine, now geologist, carried out drilling testing programs for Cobra. Cobra wanted to sell the leases. Graham approached me, so I had partners. We actually bought the chrysoprase leases and we held them for a period of time. So this is going way back, once again, into the 1970s to the present day, and gave us access to nice chrysoprase. The old term relationships. People cannot get this material now.
Yeah. Rod, tell us about how those relationships have resulted in us being able to source some beautiful sapphire and zircon, and how we also can tell the story about the provenance and the traceability of these gems.
Yeah, sometimes these relationships are not just based on having worked with these people 40 years ago, but sometimes it goes beyond that, because I spent 6 years in the Australian Army.
Right.
And some of the miners that I'm now working with, Peter, he served in the Australian military.
Right.
One of the miners I worked with 40 years ago, Lloyd, he served in Vietnam. He was in the Australian Army. So we have a closer relationship, not just from the mining, sapphire, but also the ex-military relationship. Mm-hmm. And those relationships are very close, very tight. Mm-hmm. So when we started to source and look for sapphire, they're the people you go back to.
Yep.
Use those relationships. And we know exactly where and when this material was mined. Yep. So if they say, oh, this came out of the scrub lead, well, the scrub lead is just
there. If it's from reward, well, reward is out here. So, and not only that, we can actually go with them, we can walk onto their ground, we can photograph their ground, unlike most people, because it's a mining field.
Yep.
But because of the relationships, we can actually go back.
Yep.
We can sit on the wash plank.
Yep.
We can wash them clean out.
Which we've done, Rod.
Which we've absolutely done.
Yep.
And if there's something there, there it is. We'll pick it up, look at that, photograph it. Absolutely.
So, Rod, those relationships also extended out into the opal fields as well, didn't they? I mean, I was quite surprised the other day when we were having a chat to one of our mining friends, and he said that you'd bought a parcel of opal back in the 80s from his father, from his dad. So, you know, we're actually talking to the son now and buying product from him, from his mining area. But originally, you're actually talking to his dad and bought a big parcel back in the 80s, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, 1988 or thereabouts. It was. At that stage, it was a big parcel of stone. Beautiful, beautiful boulder, cut and gone. These relationships, sometimes based on how you treat the miners, they offer you a parcel of stone. If you can see value in there, why not give them or offer them a good price? A lot of the big opal buyers wait until these miners are in a desperate situation, and then they will beat them down in price, knowing they have to sell. I always work on the principle, if you can see value in the parcel, the price they're wanting, just accept their price. And that's exactly what I did with Max in 1988. He put a price on the parcel. I could see value there. I didn't negotiate, I didn't haggle, I accepted his price.
Yep.
And he is obviously, when I made contact with Kerry, his son, 40 years later, Dad has said, hey, look after this guy, talk to him. And that's exactly what happened when we met him last week.
Yep. So these situations, this is a really good story about how those relationships have stood the test of time, Rod, and I guess now are enabling us to do what we do, and also to bring into that whole story the business of provenance and traceability, so that now we can say with great surety that we know exactly where these pieces are from, and that we know the miner, we know them very well, and we know that they're doing the right thing, and we're doing the right thing with them.
Absolutely. And to the extent that when we saw Kerry last week, he offered accommodation, come out, have a look at the mines. You're welcome to stay with us. There's accommodation there. He gave us direction. So in the next month or two, we'll head out there. We'll spend time in that mine. We'll see what they're doing. Absolutely. Now, not everyone gets that honour of being allowed to walk a mine.
Sure. Well, that's great, Rod. Look, I think there's some really great stories here about why we created the business, how we run the business, and in fact, even I guess our values in terms of what this business is in, and this whole notion of relationships of us with the miners, and then us with our designer friends all around the world as well, so that we can do the best by them that we possibly can. We can be upright and forthright and I guess honest about where our gems come from, where they're processed, and what we're really on about is what we are doing.
And Ian, the relationship that you and I have blends these together. I have the relations to source this material.
Yes.
I have the knowledge to process the material. You now have the relationships with our clients, our customers, the end users, and this all ties together. So there's a chain here. Now we can go right through from mine to rough to process to finished product. Trust between all of us.
That's exactly right, Rod. Well, look, Rod, I think it's been a great conversation this morning, and we've brought some beautiful gems out on the table. You've got a lot of work in front of you here, but that's something that you love doing too. I know that you, and we'll talk a little bit more about your cutting capabilities and what you do in that cutting space. We've done some video about that in the past, but we're going to do some more also. Thanks, Rod.
Okay, Ian. Thank you very much.